Welcome to the Essentially You podcast, the space where high-achieving leaders come to elevate their impact, amplify their influence, and unlock their fullest potential. Hey, I'm your host, Mark Mathia, and I believe that great leadership starts with clarity, courage, and a commitment to growth. Together, we'll explore the strategies, mindset shifts, and transformational coaching tools that help you overcome challenges, inspire your teams, and thrive in the moments that matter most. Now, this isn't just about leading others, it's about leading yourself first. It's about stepping into alignment, driving meaningful change, and owning your power to create a legacy of excellence. Each week, we'll share insights, real-world lessons, and inspiring conversations to help you elevate your moments. Let's dive in. Welcome back. Coach Mark here to the Essentially You podcast. Hey, today we're diving into a topic that I think is really important, especially for emerging or young professionals, because if we can learn to turn our setbacks into comebacks and keep moving forward, no matter how tough the road gets, we can win. We can win at work and we can win at life. I believe that resilience isn't just about bouncing back, right? It's really about refusing to quit when those challenges arise. And so throughout this episode, I'll share as much science-backed strategies that can help us. But at the end of the day, I want us to think of, instead of just another resiliency podcast, I want to think about how not to quit. And when you do have to quit, quit on your own terms. Make sure you're very intentional about it, because the object shouldn't be to quit to escape. It should be to quit with momentum. And that's what I think we can do in this episode today, is get us in that mindset of not quitting when times get tough, but also quitting with momentum when we do need to quit. So before we go down the 5 stages, let me tell you a story. And it's a story about when I started practicing quitting. So I was about 7, 8 years old. We used to play pickup football in the backyard of my friend's house, sometimes in mine too, but we didn't really have good grass, in Denver, Colorado. And as we played the game, when we started to lose, or maybe one of my friends had a good hit on me, we played tackle football back in the day, no helmets. Those would really upset me. And I didn't know how to control or regulate my emotions. I'd get so mad. And I remember I got so mad, I grabbed the football, it was my football, and I took it home. I refused to play. I was losing and I quit. I refused to play the game. That is exactly what we want to avoid doing. I quit, and when I quit, everybody else had to quit too, because I took the football home. Now, I did show resilience because I showed up the next day. My friends were graceful. Thank you, friends, if you're listening. I appreciate that. But nevertheless, learning and teaching myself to quit at a young age was something that I really wrestled with, throughout my adulthood, throughout my young professional career. I had to get my emotions in check so that I wouldn't quit when I'm behind. And so as I say that, funny anecdote, but it was also something that I've had to break. And that's really important. Do you know that in 2021, the Journal of Applied Psychology found that young professionals who view setbacks as learning opportunities are 25% more likely to experience burnout and breakthroughs in their career moments. And Deloitte came out with another survey that said 40% of young professionals report high levels of burnout, emphasizing that these strategies we're going to talk about are necessary. And I love what Simon Sinek said when he said, dream big, fail small, and fail forward. That kind of encapsulates what I want to teach us today. But let's get into these 5 strategies. First, embrace failure as feedback. It's simple. You've heard that all the time. Carol Dweck goes on and on about that. That's cultivating a growth mindset. But when we start with this idea that every misstep is simply a stepping stone, then we can reframe failure as feedback, and this can help boost us along on our professional journey. Did you know that people who think like this, according to the Journal of Organizational Behavior, are 30% more likely to overcome those setbacks and or pivot successfully? And again, that's what I am. Sometimes you'll run up into a wall, but if you have to quit with momentum on your side. Now, all of this is really important. And really to capsulate it, I love this. The only real mistake is the one in which we learn nothing. And I think that should kind of carry with us through this whole thing. But let's go to number 2, cultivating grit. And I love Angela Duckworth's definition and kind of thoughts on grit. Now that we cultivate it through perseverance and passion. So here's what I mean. Sticking with your goals and with passion, a little vigor can give you the edge in today's competitive work environment. And yes, you are competing. So just kind of understand that. In 2021, the Harvard Business Review article emphasized that grit, defined as a blend of passion and perseverance, is a crucial differentiator for young professionals. As a matter of fact, people who showed grit outperform people with talent. That's so important. So we have to work in cultivating grit. And how do we get ourselves into a state or a mindset of grittiness? This was great. Angela Duckworth said enthusiasm is very common, but endurance is very rare, and endurance is the secret key to success. Now, we need to build a robust support network. We need friends at work, mentors, peers, coaches. All of this are really important. There is a special power in we, so you can't go it alone. Gallup reported, for an example, young professionals with active networks are 25% more resilient when facing workplace challenges. Let me just speak to that. You will face workplace challenges. Whether you quit or not is up to you. But when you have a team that support you, you'll be able to make clear, conscious decisions so that if you do have to quit, you quit again with momentum going forward. And you don't have to suffer. You don't have to kind of think it over and over and over again that you should quit. Make a decision to stay, do the work, fix what broke, and move on. Okay. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Helen Keller knew the power of people. 4, set realistic goals and celebrate small wins. There's a lot of talk about goal setting, but if you do not set goals, you never know how far you can go. So set big goals. I love big goals, but celebrate small chunks along the way. You know that the workplace studies I've read said that when you do that and you celebrate those long things, I don't know, buy you a confetti cannon, then all of a sudden it begins to shoot off the endorphins and it becomes a habit. Robert Collier said success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. So let's just remember to set realistic goals, and celebrate those small wins. And 5 is practice mindfulness and self-reflection. If you've listened to my podcast, you know I like to journal. You know I like mindfulness. You know I think it's critical for my emotional regulations, and I bet it is for you too. According to the American Psychological Association, regular mindfulness exercises, my practices, I call them, can reduce stress and improve your cognitive performance by up to 20%. Now, I don't know, I've given you a lot of percentages. If you add those up, that's really going to start stacking on each other, right? So look, mindfulness isn't just for meditation apps. It's actually the reboot you need to boost your brain on a hectic workday. And this is kind of a modern take on a very ancient practice. I think it's really important that we keep that in mind. Okay, last one, bonus time. We're wrapping up here. Before we wrap up, here is some bonus hacks, okay? There's some data that shows, hey, if we put into place a couple of things, exercise breaks and digital detox breaks, and maybe even combining the two, when we give our mind time to rest, it gives our mind time to recharge. Sleep is so important for this. And the research is all over it, saying we have to do that. So bottom line is this. Sometimes a brisk walk isn't just exercise. It's actually a perfect excuse to escape that endless email chain. Leave your phone behind. All right, so what's the call to action? First, let's understand the 5 steps, right? Understand what those are, and I'm sure they'll be in the show notes for you, but we want to make sure that we are doing the right things so that we learn not to quit. Embrace failure as feedback. Cultivate grit. Build a robust support network. Set realistic goals and practice mindfulness and self-reflection. Okay, those are really great things, but I want to hear from you. Why don't you drop me a note at markmathia.com and share some stories. Share some stories about when you quit or you didn't quit and you overcame it and it was the right decision. Look, as a matter of fact, if you're on social and you pick this up, why don't we do this? Why don't you share your don't quit stories on social media with the hashtag don't quit young pro, and we'll have a conversation together. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me just say this. If you're tempted to skip out on life's challenges, just remember, quitting is like sending a resignation email to your dreams. I don't want that for you, and you don't want that for you either. So until we talk again, let's get out there and really make the most of every moment. As a matter of fact, let's elevate those moments. Thank you for listening to Essentially You, the podcast. I'm so grateful to have shared this time with you. If today's conversation inspired you or sparked a new perspective, I'd love to hear from you. Let's connect. You can email me at mark@markmathia.com to share your thoughts, ask questions, or even take your first step toward elevating your leadership and impact. Your next breakthrough starts with a single moment of action. And until next time, remember to lead with purpose, stay aligned with your vision, and always elevate your moments.